is 10:14 right here on this St. Patrick's Day in downtown Alton, the heart of the River Bend. And, I get torched for this. Sonya Hagaman. Did I get it?
Yes. You
Correct?
did. You got it.
I have been getting things wrong names all week, and this text line has been tearing me up. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. And current incumbent Wood River City Council woman, how has everything been in these 2 years since your appointment?
There's definitely been a lot of heated discussions, but I think that's an important part of small government. Mm-hmm. So and I thrive off of those types of discussions.
Right.
This is, my wheelhouse. So I'm not afraid of them.
So take us through this. Take us through your background a little bit leading up to the appointment 2 years ago. What was your kind of day in and day out before you became a member of City Council?
Oh, well, busy.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know how to not be busy. That's just who I am as a person. I am a mom of two kids. Mm-hmm. Their ages now are 12 and 9. So then, we had them entering into, my daughter was just dabbling in sports at the school, and we've always been members of our rec department. And I coached for our rec department actually since I can't even remember, but I'm pretty sure I was 17 or 18 the first time I coached.
Really cool.
Well, kind of, but who put me in charge of 12-year-olds? But okay. My sister was my co-coach at that time too. So busy just, being a mom, coaching all of their sports, volunteering. I'm a Girl Scout leader for my daughters. They are now cadets. Mm-hmm. They were grannies at the time. And I had just about a month and a half committed to going back to school and finishing my master's in public administration. So about a month and a half, 6 weeks before I was appointed, that's what the journey I had decided to take. So I even had more on my plate. and I work a full-time job. So there's
right.
that. Mm-hmm.
And so take us, because I've never really, we have a lot of candidates on, every once in a while I'll get a few incumbents that come on and talk, but how do you manage that with your full-time job and managing also the city business of your constituents?
It's people have to wait. There are certain times during the day when you're going to hear from me. The city leaders, the ones that I'm in contact with often, they know. Mm-hmm. I'll get a lot of texts. Can you talk? Can you call me at your lunch? Can you call me after work? I squeeze a lot in between after I drop the kids off at 8 and 8:30, and then at 4:30 before I go get them until 5, which luckily our city business is still going on at that time.
Right.
And then I get an hour break for lunch. So there's a lot.
Well, at least you get the hour.
I do. It's the fastest hour of the day.
Well, with this being said, you were the first female appointed to Wood River City Council appointment-wise. And, here in town, there's always, an appointment every once in a while kind of causes, the hands to raise and, what have you, for the worse or for the better. Did you have that experience a little bit?
Absolutely.
Really?
It was quite controversial. I think there was a lot of misconception and misinformation that shrouded the entire event. And honestly, for me, that was part of the reason why I had to seriously consider this. I just committed to going back to grad school,
right,
which was on top of the other jobs I already did. And so could I even do this? And could I do this with the full attention it deserves?
Right.
Because I had always thought, city government would be something I could really enjoy, mm-hmm, but I didn't feel like it was going to be at that time in my life.
Right.
So it was kind of thrust upon me. I was asked by our exiting council member if it was something that I would be interested in. And I had to, I'm like, you're going to have to give me time. I've got to talk to my husband,
right,
because that's asking a lot of him as well. And, there's some people in my life that are like, probably not. This is probably not a good choice. And I just thought to myself, if not me, then who?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, and so when you take this appointment, and I think it's great that you highlighted the fact that you didn't just throw your hand up and go, yeah, let's do this, without weighing out those benefits and cons to the job, because
and the
there
controversy.
Are some. Yeah.
The controversy was that was my husband's biggest concern is,
right,
we have small kids and you don't deserve any of the negativity.
Well, and what were some of those thoughts? Because I'm not too familiar with it, but if you'd like to, you have all the opportunity. Why?
It was kind of seen as like a backdoor deal. I don't know if it was just because all of a sudden everybody was paying attention to this very small stage political, scene. Mm-hmm. But I don't think people have realized how many appointments there are. Like, we have 2 sitting council members who started out with appointments, mm-hmm, Leroy and our mayor, Tom Stallcup. They were both appointed at some point. I think there's been, I don't remember, maybe 15 appointments in the past, I don't know, 25 years or so.
Right.
And they've never had this level of contention. And I think it was just a very negative stage at the time. And it didn't matter who it was going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because you're right. I mean, at that time, you're probably getting the news stories circulating about the developments and things happening. And it seems like, honestly, I've said this before, Woods River citizens have a more vocal group than we do sometimes here because, you know, that's how much your constituents really care. Because they are caring. It's just maybe not getting the right information at the right time. And yeah. And so in these 2 years, what have you been the most proud of your work as a city councilwoman?
I will tell you. Thank you. I will tell you. I'm proud that, you know, when you look at our numbers now, when you look at what we've been able to accomplish, and when I was appointed, we were still in the middle of a pandemic, so it was not business as usual.
Right.
It was a different time for all of us, and everybody was just learning how to shift and navigate that. And I will say that our city now is, if you look at our newest budget, it's in the best shape it's been, and
long time.
For as long as I can remember. And it's, you know, we've got extremely talented and capable and intelligent people at the helm at every level. Mm-hmm. And we were able to navigate through losing 3 or 4 very linchpin employees who took years of knowledge with them when they left. And I feel like we've been able to maintain a level of service to our citizens that they deserve. I feel like we've been able to complete and finish some really major projects and start them to begin with. And then I feel like we've done it in a fiscally sound manner in which we were able to look at projections and what's possible. Mm-hmm. And we've brought a lot of, I mean, the downtown to me is huge.
It's really coming back.
Part. Yeah, it is. And for small town USA, that's hard.
Well, and
that's hard.
Well, and you hit something, and I'm not leading you on or patronizing you here. I just want to point it out. I just had on South Roxanna, and we were talking about that 26,000 population gap, where if you weren't up, you know, to that level, you got to go through things a different way and a different perspective and avenue. And it's not easy to navigate those waters. I mean, you don't have these handouts and all these things that you can utilize for your benefit. You have to come up with these ideas on your guys' own as a whole of a council.
And I did, I spoke to our mayor yesterday. I had a lovely conversation with him. And I gave the previous administration the credit they deserved because I feel like they set up a lot of dominoes that we were able to knock down.
You don't hear that very often nowadays. I am so tired of people just go, well, we did this. No, you didn't. Okay.
No.
And it's good to acknowledge the fact because it creates a divide.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just say, we finished the job. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's not like Mayor Stalkup walked in as mayor and started doing all these things. He set up the steps. Him and Leroy set up the steps with our previous administration, you know, the years past. So these have been long roads coming. These projects have been huge planning.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away from your guys' job to finish that because it takes a lot to even complete the job and hit those stages. But you do a great. I love it. Let's give credit where that's unheard of. Are you okay? Do you have a fever? You know, but it's really where we're at in politics, and no matter if it's nationally or statewide or locally. And now with this, what's been the biggest talking points of this campaign? Because I know the rec center's a big deal. The roundhouse. We just saw the playground kind of getting brought down. What are your thoughts on that? What have you heard from the constituents?
I think that there's a misconception as to what the majority of constituents want in our city. And when we voted, and that was, you know, it is nerve-wracking to sit up there and make these huge decisions for a very small town. Mm-hmm. And we are given a plethora of information. And if we don't have it in front of us, we have the individuals to reach out to ask questions. You know, I've sat in almost everybody's office and had a discussion with them at some point in the last 2 years. So I would say that for me, like right now, there's a dispensary. There's discussion of a dispensary. Right. And there's a lot of misconception with that. And I'm seeing the misinformation with that. And it's just a very frustrating point of view because I can't reach out to each person individually and explain it to them. But when I do have the opportunity to speak to people and they hear all the information comes to light, they're like, oh, okay, well, now I understand. And it's like, I wish I had that opportunity with all 10,000 of our constituents, but I don't.
You don't.
I cannot.
And now so with this, just because you brought it up, with this dispensary, are you kind of in favor of this if it does develop?
I will have to say it's going to be a very contentious meeting on Monday, but I will have to say when you look at all the facts and you look at all the information and you look at the places where they are currently located, they're thriving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no crime rise. I think there is a huge misconception on who the individuals are that patronize these places. And when I explain to people, they look like me.
Thank you. I did a live read for a sit in Collinsville. So I walk in and tell them, hey, I just did your commercial. There were people in suits there.
Yeah. I think someone told me the average patron is a soccer mom. And I was like,
It's true. It's a good point. And so with this, another thing that people don't realize is they can, during the campaign, we're excited because we have this opportunity in front of us. We can make this change. And then you get into office and then the reality hits you a little bit.
You're one of 5 votes.
Yeah. And so take us through what you've kind of experienced, because this is technically your first campaign, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So
it's wild.
How is it being an incumbent that's never run an actual campaign before, doing it for the first time with being a councilwoman?
I do not want to say a sticky spot, because I am the kind of person that when I come to a decision, it's because I took all the information that's been given to me, and I'm not afraid to change my point of view. If new information comes to light, if I'm for something and then I learn that the downfall might be more than a risk that I'm willing to take for the citizens of Wood River, then that's something that I'm willing to, hey, you know what? I'm going to back up for a moment. There's been times when we've tabled things to just get a little bit more information before we move forward with it. And so it is a stickier position, but I could see the draw to start making choices sitting up there as a council member. I could see the draw of making those to make the loudest voices happy, but that's not. You have to think long term. You have to think, what's the future here? And this is my home. Yeah. This is my children's home. Yeah. I think I've mentioned to you before, I'm 4th generation. My kids are 5th generation on both sides. My grandmother-in-law was a council member. Mm-hmm. My grandma's best friend growing up was a council member. My great uncle Lester was a council member. This is my deep roots and ties to this community. And so when I think about these things, it's not just how's this going to affect other people. This is how is it going to affect my life directly and my kids.
I've never asked this question before, but I'm going to, and I think it's pertinent for this. You like you said, lifelong resident. You've been there 5th generation with your children, which I think is truly incredible. I really just have a soft spot for that. But my opinion is sometimes people come into the area that are newer and they think they know the people, but they really don't know the people or the community. Have you experienced that with some of the folks that maybe come into town and they want to change all this stuff, but they're kind of losing the groundwork and the roadmap for what Wood River is as a community?
I don't know if we have a lot of outsiders coming in to do that, but I feel like we have a lot of people who have timed out of being involved that have recently decided to come back in and take an involvement, and what they're doing is they're not considering an entire group of people who may not make it to the polls.
Exactly.
They may not make it to the polls. I'm in the hardest part of my life right now, time-wise. And so it's not easy for my age group to go voice their opinion, but I see them constantly through my children's activities.
And how important to you is just getting voter turnout up? Because to me, that's why we have these conversations. It's not really about, because I don't endorse, you don't want my endorsement, trust me. But it's like, to me, people go, oh, we got to do this and this and this. Well, why don't we get our voters engaged enough to want to come vote? Because if you look around the communities, numbers are dropping off of a cliff drastically each time we have a local election.
It's true. And I think it's just complacency. Yeah. I think it's just, but that is what affects you the fastest and the hardest. That is the closest to home. So to me, that's the one that we should all take the most interest in, because this is, when is your street going to get paved? Right. When is your sidewalk going to get fixed? How is the rec center going to be ran? Are we going to bring in a private vendor to take care of it? Or are we going to run it as a community, which gives us the control? So it's those are the decisions that are going to be made by that representative government. Yeah. So those are the people that you need to really think about and consider.
Well, and let me ask you a little bit more about the rec center, because this has been just a doozy of a story for you guys in Wood River. It seems like every time I look, there's something else about it. What are your thoughts on it? Because I know there's a lot of, especially with you being, 4th generation, that roundhouse has a lot of sentimental value. Oh, yeah. We talked about it on the phone. What are your thoughts, though, on this development? Is it good for the city of Wood River? Do you support it?
Absolutely. And I have been supportive of it from the get-go. I campaigned for the 1% sales tax because this was promised with that.
Yeah.
And so I was a huge proponent of that. I was the huge, everybody get out, vote, let's get this passed. And I think that there were a lot of people when the Save the Roundhouse referendum went through, I think there were a lot of people who once again were complacent because they figured, oh, the rec center is going to go through. It doesn't matter. Like, we want this. Everybody knows we want it. Our vote that mattered, we already did that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they didn't voice their opinion, but I've heard from them throughout, all year long I coach rec teams.
Right.
I speak to hundreds of people every year in a different venue, but I don't feel like they feel it necessary to get to the polls and cast their vote.
Now, I have a question about that vote, though, because I've heard, and I've gotten texted in while people were on the air telling me, about their campaigns, and the vote, the way it was kind of worded, I heard, was kind of wonky.
It was 2 issues wrapped into one.
Okay, can you explain that? Because I'm not leading you here. I've really heard this before from folks, and I wanted to ask
I welcome the opportunity to straighten it out. I feel like my own husband, he was like, so we're voting this way? I was like, no. Sir. But I will say that it was a little convoluted in the wording, and it literally took 2 issues that should have been voted on separately, and it sandwiched them together. And there could have been a separate vote for Save the Roundhouse and do you want to build the rec center? And what I heard from people as I was like, you guys, you have to vote to, vote. No, the Roundhouse isn't going anywhere. There has never been any kind of serious discussion or talk about the Roundhouse getting torn down. It's not on the chopping block.
Right.
So this is a moot vote. Sorry. And what I heard from a lot of individuals, older usually, were, I don't mind a rec center. I just want to save the Roundhouse. So then you're stuck.
Gotcha.
And you can't vote on those 2 issues separately. And what I said is, one, it was an advisory vote. And I asked, well, can you give me the percentages of people that voted for it that don't want the rec center and wanted to save the Roundhouse? Can you give me the percentages of people that just wanted to save the Roundhouse?
Right.
And you can give me the percentages of people that don't want a rec center.
True.
And if you can't break those out, and those are 2 mutually exclusive issues, then how can we use that as an advisory vote when the specifics aren't given?
True.
And I've got people coming, and you know what? And the day that we voted to build the rec center, we brought in over 100 letters from different constituents in our area supporting the rec center. Wow. And that was something I think we got in like a week. So can you imagine if we had more time? If we had mounted a campaign with, instead of say no to the Reckless 3, we had a say yes to the rec center or something. Like, what if we had tried to mount a campaign? We got 100 people from our city saying this is what they want and this is why they want it. So are their voices not important?
Yeah.
Do you know?
It's a great thought. It's a great argument to be had, and it's great insight because, so many times I think, certain publications only listen to certain folks when they write some of their stories. So when, I see them, and not us here because we do cover the press releases and we talk to folks, but other community publications don't. And they take one kind of snippet and they make it this grandiose headline, and you're going, well, so what's the actual wording of this look like? What's the actual law or what's the resolution that's going to be passed? So with that being said, we've been talking here for a lot longer than I told you we were going to. No, it's my fault. But I wanted to ask you about, what your plans are if you are, reelected. How does that work? Do you get reelected?
I think I just retain I've been saying I retain my seat.
Okay, there you go. I like that a little bit better. It makes me feel smarter. So if you retain your seat April 4th, what's day one of the second term look like for you?
I feel like it's just going to be business as usual.
Okay.
Every time I go into a meeting, I have to, I'm usually running in with my hair on fire from another child's. But that's okay because I feel like this is an important voice to be heard.
Yeah.
I feel like this is an underrepresented group. And I have a lot of moms and dads who are like, thank you. Thank you for being the voice. I said once in one of the meetings that a third of our constituents are under the age of 18 and they deserve a voice. Yeah. And I will be that voice, and I'm proud to be that voice. And I think I will just try to garner more inclusion of the youth in our community. I would like to attract and retain young families of any shape or form, of any makeup. I would like to do that. I've seen too many of my age group leave the area for the areas where their kids' activities are. We just had a neighbor leave. So I want to bring them back. And what's that saying about churches? If there's no crying, the church is dying. Isn't that what's going to happen in a small community if we don't do that?
Good point.
Let's keep bringing in younger people. Let's keep our 18-year-olds. I don't want an 18-year-old to graduate and say, I can't wait to get out of this town. I want them to say, this is my home. I can't wait to come back after I go spread my wings.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like I said, I hope everything goes well in this election for you. And that's not an endorsement, just helping you out here. And only thing I'm going to ask you is April 4th, if you win during the election show, you call in and you let me know what you're feeling.
I will.
Awesome. It's 10:34 right here on the St. Patrick's Day on the 17th day of March. Wow, we are really creeping closer and closer to Easter. And we'll take a break. We're going to talk to Striding and Surviving as we wrap up this 10 o'clock hour. And we head to Johnson's Corner for the St. Patrick's Day celebration. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for you guys to join me right after this commercial break.